during your commute.
Catch the wave!
On air or online, WHAV serves you. All day long, keep up to date with tenacious but objective local reporting from the only Haverhill-based news source. Find out about civic and charitable events on Community Spotlight every quarter hour, and better prepare with wave weather heard every 30 minutes. For talk, there's Tom Hartman weekdays at noon, the Open Mic Show every Monday night, and David Packman Tuesday through Friday nights. And there's more. Hear classic comedy and drama 7 nights a week at 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. Finally, a unique blend of soft gold music radiates day and night. Only local radio can bring you this combination of music, news, and features, but only WHAV does.
Wave weather!
I'm WHAV meteorologist Gary Best with wave weather. It'll become partly cloudy to clear across the Merrimack Valley through the night. Low temperature upper 50s. During the day on Tuesday, mostly to partly sunny, a much nicer day. High temperature 75 to 80. Could be a stray shower Tuesday night. Low 60s then. And a shower or thunderstorm at times on Wednesday with occasional sun. High temperature 75 to 80. This is Gary Best. Your next to wave weather is coming up in 30 minutes.
WHAV Open Mic!
From the Edwin B. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tim Coco, and welcome to another edition of the Open Mic Show, a 50-year staple of democracy in the Merrimack Valley. This hour of Open Mic is being brought to you by Haverhill Bank, just one bank. All right, first up, very important, most important thing I could probably say all night. Birthday contest. Tonight is the last night for July birthdays and anniversaries. If you want someone you know, love, care about, or who at least will share a piece of cake with you, call the show, 978-374-1900. Nominate someone for the birthday cake or an anniversary cake, and the winner, drawn about 8:15 tonight, will win a free 7-inch cake from LBD's second-generation Italian bakery, 140 South Main Street in the Bradford section of the city. Now, this is a real treat. It's a 7-inch cake, your choice of chocolate or vanilla. There's sugar frosting, and it's absolutely free. In case you don't know how it works, it's really simple. You have to say on the air the name of someone you're wishing a happy birthday to, or a couple you're wishing a happy anniversary. No need for last names. That's not required. What you do need to do is tell our producer, Chris, that you're putting a name in so he can take all of that information down before you come on the air with me. And then we'll draw the name. The winner will receive a letter in the mail from WHAV. That is your proof. And you call LBD's second-generation Italian bakery. Tell them that you won the cake. They'll prepare it fresh. When you go to pick it up, you present the letter as your proof. Very simple. It's the great happy birthday, happy anniversary cake contest here at WHAV. Now, Chris, our producer, the man who works at, 5 radio stations, Chris, how many names do we have in the hat for July birthdays and anniversaries?
Currently, we have two in the hat.
We just have 2, folks. Listen, your odds are very good, the 2 that are there. And even if a couple more come in, your odds are still very good of winning. So why don't you call in right now? Wish someone a happy birthday or a couple a happy anniversary, and the name will be entered into the hat for drawing at 8:15. Very simple, 978-374-1900. Coming up at 7:05 or so after the news, a very special guest coming on the program, Ann Jones from the Greater Haverhill Art Association. And now this year, a very special partnership is taking place. The Greater Haverhill Art Association is having its Celebrating Haverhill Art in Whittier's Barn. Yes, the Greater Haverhill Art Association is going to use the giant barn at the John Greenleaf Whittier birthplace for a very special show. It'll take place over the weekend of July 10th, 11th, and 12th. Whittier birthplace is open 11 to 4 on those days. Matter of fact, I'm glad I thought of this. I don't have it in front of me, but you remember another contest we have, and this one really nothing difficult at all. Simply call and say, I would like to visit the John Greenleaf Whittier birthplace for free. And yes, you will get, the first person who asks each week will receive a free pass to the John Greenleaf Whittier birthplace. Now, that is a 70-acre farm museum site right here in Haverhill on the Merrimack line. It is the birthplace of the famous poet and abolitionist John Greenleaf Whittier. But if you act before midnight tomorrow, as they say, your pass will also admit you now to Whittier's Amesbury home. He left Haverhill in 1836 and moved to Amesbury to be closer to the Quaker meeting house. So, the person who wins tonight, and actually every night until the contest ends early fall, you'll receive a free pass to both the John Greenleaf Whittier birthplace in Haverhill and the Whittier home in Amesbury, operated by very nice folks in Amesbury of the Whittier Home Association. It's also a beautiful home. And if you've been reading WHAV's Wavelengths newsletter, or if you've read it recently, you may recall that there was an article about Greenleaf Whittier Picard. And you say, well, wait a minute now, that's like 2/3 of Whittier. Who is he? Greenleaf Whittier Picard is John Greenleaf Whittier's grandnephew. And Greenleaf Whittier Picard, working to get my interest, is a radio inventor. He may very well have been the first person to send speech rather than code over the airwaves in an experiment in Boston. He's a very famous radio inventor. And if you want to look up back issues of Wavelengths at whav.net, you'll learn more. But it was on the second floor of the Whittier home in Amesbury that he conducted his radio experiments. And WHAV open mic show historian David Goudswood has dug up even more dirt, yes, dirt, on the strange happenings. It seems like when Greenleaf Whittier Picard moved into his then late uncle's home, the group that had been using the homestead in Amesbury for tours was a little bit upset that the family was moving back into the house. They would later resolve it and take possession of the house. But in the meantime, it was bad enough that Greenleaf Whittier Picard moved into the house and actually put some additions on it. He also started fooling around with something we call radio. To the neighbors, it was squealing and static and noise and a complete disruption. And it looks like, I don't want to give too much of this away, this may be a future Wavelength story, but it looks like some people were unhappy enough with Greenleaf Whittier Picard to try to poison him. Maybe I already gave away too much. So, very interesting. Call 978-374-1900. You can enter the birthday contest, or you can get a free pass to both the Whittier birthplace in Haverhill and the Whittier home in Amesbury. All right. You can watch this program for the next 2 hours on Haverhill Community Television, Channel 22. Thank you very much, HC Media. You can also watch on your computer or smartphone in high definition at whav.tv. If you go to whav.net, or whav.org, it's really all the same website. The TV simply is under the Tune In menu. All right. Now, of course, WHAV is much more than just these 2 hours on the air. You can listen to music from 1954 to 1979. Someone once described it as the real rock and roll. You can listen to that at WHAV.net. And you can also listen on AM 1640 and on several cable television stations and over Channel 8. Now, on the TV, it's usually behind those bulletin boards you see. And over Channel 8, Methuen, Channels 8 and 22 on Comcast, Channel 32 on Verizon Fios, Plasto, Channels 17 and 23, Sandown, Channel 17. Now, we were on Haverhill Community Television, Channel 22, and I'm not really sure what happened. I think we may have hurt their feelings somehow, and we're going to see what we can do to rectify that situation. We did ask that WHAV's audio be moved to Channel 99, which is the education channel, and with the hope that during the time there were no programs on, which was usually any time before noon or any time after 10 p.m., that the audio would be there. But again, whether it's in the hurt feelings category or what, somehow since those hours have been filled. But maybe we can work something out. I know that combat veteran Gerard Boucher, who was blinded during the Vietnam War, he enjoyed listening to WHAV's music and news and weather on Channel 22, and maybe someday that will come back. Let's go to the phones. It's on Chris's side. You are on the Open Mic Show.
So you're telling me that the homestead is more interesting than the birthplace?
Oh, did I say that? I'm president of the John Greenleaf Whittier birthplace, so I definitely didn't say that. I might get impeached. But, of course, I'm a radio enthusiast, and so there is something appealing about Greenleaf Whittier Picard radio inventor. But, David, you have tracked down all of the dirt of this scandal that took place.
Oh, I've barely scratched the surface.
All right. I'm going to put you on the spot. At some point, I think this is a story you want to tell. Will we see it someday?
Oh, someday. Right now, it's just, well, I'm a little backlogged right now for obvious reasons.
Hey,
but,
actually, that's a good point. Do you mind if I give listeners and viewers a sneak preview of what you're backlogged on?
Not at all.
Now, coming up formally in September, I don't remember the exact date off the top of my head, and maybe it's subject to change, but you know that some of the best-selling, I don't know how David describes them, science fiction, supernatural authors, but bestsellers have collaborated to contribute to a book that David is editing called, of all things, Snowbound with Zombies. It's incredible. It's incredible. But David, as long as we have you on the phone, maybe you want to tell listeners what you're hoping to accomplish with this unusual theme for Whittier.
Well, at this point in the editing process, I'm just looking to survive, but that's not what you meant, I understand.
Well, if you don't survive, you could be one of the zombies.
Oh, swell.
Okay.
Snowbound with Zombies is basically a collection of modern short stories, supernatural, a little bit of light horror, that are all stories that are based on the works or life of John Greenleaf Whittier. And that's a mighty big pile of people who have involved now. And we have everybody from New York Times best-selling Haverhill resident Christopher Golden to a number of internationally recognized figures in the field, such as W.H. Pugmire, who lives out in Seattle, who has contributed a very weird fiction reminiscent piece about changelings, which of course would be Goody Cole and The Wreck of the River's Mouth and The Old Wife and the New out in Hampton, which are both poems by Whittier.
So these are all inspired, by Whittier's work and life. If I may give a little sneak preview, since it relates to the theme, I had the opportunity to read one of the stories. And does it involve our good friend Greenleaf Whittier Picard? I guess it
Why,
does.
sheer coincidence, yes, it do.
So there are some interesting things. And Whittier is certainly going through a renaissance of sorts, and that's why I'm pleased to have Ann Jones on after the top of the hour to talk about celebrating Haverhill art in Whittier's barn. That, and unlike maybe previous guests that we've had on the program, this is open to all kinds of artists. I don't believe this is, David, I think you were more familiar with the term than I was when we had a prior guest. This is not one of those juried art shows.
Correct. That's the term.
All right, and so, of course, you know, when you say juried, I think of like jury rigged. No, nothing like that.
Okay.
All right, not this one anyway. Maybe that other one was. But this one here, the public's welcome to visit the display and sale of fine arts and join us for the artist reception. See the artists in action, sketching and painting on the historic grounds during the event, July 10, 11, and 12 at Whittier Birthplace in Haverhill. And, of course, Ann Jones from the Greater Haverhill Art Association will be on to describe that. David, weren't you involved in the Haverhill Art Association some years ago?
Very, very briefly. I was, I guess I was recording secretary for a short time, sort of a fill-in position. I was actually working with the Haverhill Arts Commission.
Okay.
So, and of course, in those days, the Arts Commission was NECAC, Polly Ross's group.
Okay.
Northeast Cultural Arts.
Northeast.
And Bob Glabowski, who was Greater Haverhill Arts, and Paul Chase, who was Winnie Kinney, and number of other groups that were represented on the board.
All right.
Those were the good old days when Massachusetts had a lottery specifically to raise money for the arts. So each town had to have their own arts commission. They would get their share of it, and then they would locally dole it out.
We actually had a story at WHAV.net, and I think it was a shorter version on air a few months ago. But had we continued to take the money out of the lottery, because people who buy lottery tickets expected, at least when the thing started, that a significant portion of the funds would actually go to the arts. I guess if they had continued to do that, Haverhill would be getting some enormous amount of money now. But instead,
they were pulling in so much money they had to cap it because I think they capped it at $10 million a year for the arts.
So I think Haverhill gets about
the general fund.
Haverhill gets about $20,000 to $25,000 a year, but it probably would have been getting something like $100,000 to $200,000 if they hadn't capped it.
Well,
but
I don't know what the new formula is with the current situation. The original Arts Lottery was just called that. It was the Arts Lottery.
That's right.
And it was a separate ticket.
Actually,
that's the one they capped. I've been out of town too long. I don't know anything about the current funding.
Actually, the WHAV story did talk about that. When it was called the Mass Arts Lottery, it didn't actually do that well, and someone came up with the idea, and this everyone will recognize, of naming it Megabucks. And that's when it took off, and it was still the Arts Lottery.
And by that point, there was no arts involved in the lottery.
David, I don't know if you have something else you wanted to say, but if you do, Chris, amazingly, is not yelling at me to take the break I'm supposed to take.
That's because I promised him a slice of the cake if I win.
Oh, do you have a birthday entry?
Why, coincidentally, I do. My father's birthday is July 16th. All
right. Happy birthday, Bob or Robert?
Mm-hmm. Either one. As long as there's cake involved, he'll come either way.
So just don't call him late for dinner, right? So
pretty much.
All right. So happy birthday, Bob. When is Bob's birthday?
July 16th.
July 16th. And Chris, you've already entered that into the hat on the official contest form. Very good. July 16th. So now there are 3. The odds are still pretty good of winning, aren't they? Better than even the Mass Arts Lottery.
Well, I remember we were getting a good chunk of change. I mean, we were giving out grants. I had anything to do with it at all. I was a paper pusher for them. George Capron used to the whole operation, but they were, you could get $2,000 for a grant. They would give out $250 for this or that, smaller groups.
All right. Well, good that we got the birthday in. It's up to you. You can either hold or maybe call back later in the program. But I'm gonna try to take the breaks I'm supposed to take.
Go ahead. I'll call back this evening if it looks like you're floundering at the end, but otherwise I'll sit here quietly and listen to the Greater Haverhill Arts Talk.
All right. Well, thank you very much, David Goswood, not only Open Mic Show historian, but also editor of a forthcoming book, Snowbound with Zombies. All right. Thank you, David.
Talk to you later.
All right. All right. So this hour, we're going to take a very brief break to hear about this day in Massachusetts history. We'll be right
Open mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
Are you listening to WHAV on cable television? If so, join WHAV in thanking the board, staff, and members of your local public access channel.
Catch the wave!
The most trusted man in America, news anchor Walter Cronkite, once said, "It is absolutely essential in a democracy to have competition in the media, a lot of competition." That sentiment is one of the driving forces behind WHAV's expanded local news effort. This is News Director Dana Esmel inviting you to listen to my hourly weekday newscasts right here on WHAV. You'll also find the area's most comprehensive local news reporting at whav.net on your computer or smartphone. Remember, WHAV is the only Haverhill-based news source, and it's always free.
And that's the way it is.
Today is June 29th. On this day in 1936, Tom Smith, an experienced horse trainer, spied an unlikely-looking 3-year-old thoroughbred on the track at East Boston's Suffolk Downs. The two exchanged knowing nods. 1 year later, Smith returned to Suffolk Downs as the horse's trainer. This time, the awkward-looking Seabiscuit electrified the crowd and won the Massachusetts Handicap. At the time, Suffolk Downs was not even as old as Seabiscuit. Massachusetts had only legalized betting on horse races in 1935, as the state looked for ways to raise revenue in the midst of the Great Depression. The track opened a mere 2 months after the gambling law was passed. 70 years later, Suffolk Downs remains the only major thoroughbred racetrack in Massachusetts. For more about this and other Mass Moments, go online to massmoments.org. Brought to you by the Massachusetts Foundation for the Humanities.
Open mic!
From the Edwin B. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
Welcome back. This hour of Open Mic is being brought to you by Haverhill Bank, just one bank. If you're just joining us, the Open Mic Show is pleased to present Ann Jones from the Greater Haverhill Art Association right after the news at 7 o'clock. We have a caller in queue. You are on the air.
Hello.
All right. Can you hear better this week, Brian?
Yeah, much better. And I wanted you to also know that you're coming through loud and clear on Haverhill Channel 22.
All right. Well, actually, not that I believe in jinxes, but just in case, I'm a little hesitant to mention that everything seems to be working pretty fine on this end, too. Folks, Brian and I had our own open mic show one night last week, talking on the phone. So I guess if you're a regular caller, you can get a private open mic show as well on the phone. So, Brian, what's on your mind tonight?
Not much. I just wanted to let you know that it's coming through okay this week.
All right.
I'm pleased that the number of in the birthday hat are increased by 50% now.
Oh, that's right. Just one caller. You have another one, too?
No,
Okay. You already have someone in this, right?
Yeah, I have somebody in the hat already, so we'll see what happens.
All right. Somehow another call got queued into this line. I can hear it beeping. I don't know if that'll stay. We don't normally let that happen, but yeah, maybe there is a stray neutrino after.
We'll be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
It's 7:05.
WHAV Merrimack Valley. WHAV is a not-for-profit service of Public Media of New England Incorporated. It's heard on 1640 AM, the web, at whav.net, and participating cable television stations.
Here's what's happening in local news. Haverhill water and wastewater customers are in line for rate increases if the Haverhill City Council approves a request as part of funding the new fiscal year's departmental budgets, also known as enterprise funds. On Tuesday night's agenda, councilors are asked to formally approve funding water and wastewater budget plans totaling nearly $8.1 million and nearly $9.4 million, respectively, through new user rates of $2.78 per 100 cubic feet for city water and $4.12 per 100 cubic feet for wastewater service. The current rates of $2.71 for water and $3.90 for wastewater have been in place since fiscal 2014. Other orders before the council include a total $388,000 in